Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Albers, and welcome to This Week in Anderson and on USBN Sports. And as always, I'm joined with my co-host, Steve Ellis. And Steve, again, we're really happy to be sponsored. This podcast is sponsored by Jim Sturger. His book, 9/11, A Time to Remember. Jim Sturger's sixth book is now out in paperback form. Steve and I, as well as 90 other folks from coast to coast, share their story of the tragic day on 9/11. Books available anywhere books are sold or jimsturger.com. And like I said, joining me is Steve. And Steve, we got to thank Jim, obviously, for doing this, because he's been a big part of our podcast, and he really he follows us and shares a lot of the stuff. So
it's a great book. It's a great read, but it's also because we're in it.
That is true, and everybody wants to see our stories and hear all about us.
No, there's some great stories, but having Glen Hock here is a great thing for us, because we've been wanting to try to connect with him. But the one thing I want to say is that he's just a great, genuine guy.
Absolutely,
and I'm saying this in front of him. But if you don't know who he is around Anderson Township,
we're gonna find out.
You don't get out very much.
Oh, yeah, you're not a part of Anderson Township if you don't know who Glen Hock is.
That's exactly right.
But it's going to be exciting to hear all his stories about growing up, and then also what he's doing right now. So as he said, joining us is Glen Hock. Glen, it's been a long time to try to get this going. I know I've been kind of screwing up and trying to figure out the times and get it, but I'm glad you're here to finally join us.
Oh, it's amazing, man. You guys just trying to get this together was unbelievable. Texting you all the time, back and forth. I can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah,
something going on. So I mean, you're super busy. He's got basketball coming up. I'm still involved with football and volleyball, but it's great here that we're doing this. So we're going to go ahead and how we always kind of start this, and let's talk about growing up. You grew up in Anderson Township, I'm sure. Talk about what side of Anderson you grew up in, and just kind of go through that history.
All right, I've watched a lot of these, and I grew up in Summit. So I started in Summit.
I'm out.
I was
talking about,
but I will say I grew up all over. We moved around. We grew up on Tonopah. That was my first address.
Tonopah,
I lived in several areas in Summit, so I went all around.
Okay,
that's probably the one I remember the most was living on Shenstone.
Oh yeah,
we had a great neighborhood, good people, and
was that before the back part of that was built, or?
Oh yeah, I mean you could go through and go to a Twin Fair and all.
Twin Fair, that's
a good one.
All the great stores and the restaurant.
Yeah.
Oh man,
McAlpin's up there.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Twin Fair. It became Meyer. Did it become Meyer?
Meyer Square.
Meyer Square. Yeah. Oh yeah. So
God, that's great.
We'd always do the name
So again, Steve, you got another some mistake guy. I mean, you need to work on your side.
This is just overwhelming.
You need to work on your side.
I know it.
It just shows that the athletes, I guess, were on the Summit side.
Well, you can say that if you can believe that. No, it is true. I mean, and especially back then, I mean, some of the states was like obviously with all the guests, it was like a city.
It was.
When you think about it, I mean, it was like one of the bigger neighborhoods around, and it was newer somewhat. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I kind of knew he was from that. That's why I thought, I'll just go ahead and
you stuck it in on me.
Just kind of put it on the tally there.
All right, so go ahead.
But I'll tell you, when you say that, I went to, if I was to start, I went to Summit, I went to Air, I went to Sherwood, I went to church at GA and IHM, and played baseball for him. I went to Turpin, and I went to Anderson, and I went to UC. So I pretty much covered
except
every
for McNick.
School. I didn't go to McNick, and one day when I was at Sherwood, there was something happened, and they shipped us over to Wilson for one day.
Really?
So I basically covered Wilson. I didn't have much. I went to Camp Kern with Maddox. So I covered every school.
Well, I mean, and you talk about, we just said, if you don't know him in Anderson, so he just at every place we go to.
This is where it started. Now we know.
Exactly.
So where were you living that you got to Sherwood?
I was down on Woodruff. I'm sorry, off of not Woodruff. Woodridge, off of Pattison.
Yes,
it was right on the main street there. Yeah. So I grew up there, and that was when I was in Turpin District.
Man! And you went to Turpin?
I did go to Turpin.
How dare you?
It was. Trust me. I'm the youngest of seven.
What grades were you at Turpin?
Turpin, I went there 7th through 9th.
Okay.
And that's where I went there and just.
And you made the change.
My sister was the only one that went through, so I'm the youngest of 7. My older brother Brian was 87, and then a whole slew of them were before me. So that covered everybody. So I knew all the, when you guys do these podcasts and talk to everybody, I know 95% of the people you talk to.
I'm sure you do.
It's great.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that and hear the stories and stuff like that, because I can relate with all of them.
Yeah.
But it's excuse me. But it's just interesting, Turpin was just it was a weird combination to go there, because everybody always asks, and here's my take on Turpin. Turpin, you got Newtown and you got the high end.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Anderson, it's a hodgepodge. And you get Anderson, and there's not a lot of middle ground. And I was one of the very few that was in that middle, and you go there and your first day of lunch and you're at Turpin and you're like, where am I sitting?
Right.
And you're looking around going, do I sit with these people? And I knew everybody because I played baseball, and it didn't matter. But you choose where your first day is basically where you rank it. And it's different. And
that's interesting.
I try to tell everybody that.
It is.
Anderson, you go there and it's like everybody welcomes you. It doesn't matter. You're hanging out with people that have elevators in their house, and you're hanging out with people that, it's great. It doesn't matter.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
That's a good point.
So when you were growing up and moving around Summit and elsewhere, what sports did you play when you were growing up?
Growing up, 90% I was baseball.
Or other activities you might have been in.
Well, at that time, my brother was a big baseball player, so I always followed him.
Okay.
He was into track, and my older sister Julie ran in '84.
Okay.
And they were all into track, so I spent a lot of time with Mr. Wolf and stuff at the track, and we would go there and watch all them track meets, and the track meets were awesome.
Okay.
Cross country was awesome, and we'd go there, and I spent a lot of time doing that.
So you kind of grew up with it.
I definitely grew up with it. You name the top runners. I saw them all. I watched them all. Those guys were amazing, and you see that, and that got me fired up and ready to go. Because I'll tell you, my brother's class was 87, and those guys were ridiculous. I mean, my best time in cross country was a 17:27. I wouldn't have made reserve. It's serious. Those guys were running like 16 minutes, like all of them, and that's the top 5. Which is ridiculous.
I'll tell you, there's a group of guys in our class in '86 that make a lot of references to your brother, like the Jed Davises of the world, and who's the other, Matt Byers, I think.
Matt Byers.
And then even in front of him was like Jeff Justice. All those guys.
Those guys are studs.
It's pretty strong. And so you played baseball growing up. Who'd you play for? Was it neighborhood or?
I started off with a team called Moats Lawn Care.
Moats, yes.
Bill Mayer was the coach, and who else? I'll think about it in here in a minute. But my brother played for the other team, which was Ron Camden, which was Didier Taylor, and it was kind of a spin-off. It was the younger team, and they kind of did it. So we all kind of learned from the Didier Taylor team. So we had that 7-year difference with those guys. So we would come up, and I got to learn positions from guys like Bill Hemming.
The Hemming brothers.
I mean, Andy Camden played second. My brother played short. Rusty Devaney played third. I mean, you had some really good players, and then the outfield. I mean, just really. I mean, it was amazing. Really good players, and I learned from those guys, and it was cool when you get hitting tips from Bill Hemming. Who was a crusher. I mean, I've never seen a guy hit a ball harder. But you just watch, and it was amazing to grow up in that time. And I spent so much time at his games and then my games, and I was lucky.
Absolutely.
Well, I think there's an advantage. A lot of people may disagree with this, but to growing up and being, you said you were the youngest, and I was the youngest. You were in the middle child. But you got to watch Moose, play, and just to be able to experience and watch and get a feel for it rather than going in, cold and not sure what to do. And I think you can kind of see the difference, and I think it helps, people like you. Once you get started in whatever it is, you already know what the expectations are and what to do.
Oh yeah, I mean they taught you, how to do everything right, and that was the cool thing. everything, and the coaches were amazing. And Mr. Camden would come in and, help us out, and, we were always like, wow, this guy knows what he's doing, and it was awesome. And
was Camden, did he go to McNick?
No, Andy Camden from Turpin.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. I was thinking, there was a Camden I thought that went to McNick. I was thinking that played baseball, but wrong. My bad.
I think
there was a Camden, I thought.
All right, so speaking of amazing, that you said, let's get into high school when you played baseball at Anderson. You had a great career and a great coach.
Right.
So, talk about your career and your coach and some of the guys you played with.
Let me go back a step real quick. So when I was at Turpin, so I left Turpin freshman year, or after freshman year. I was a little ticked off. Turpin had a rule, basically, you couldn't play varsity as a freshman.
Okay.
And I felt like the varsity, or the reserve team, I was pitching, we were playing the varsity team, and we beat them.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was pitching, I was like,
right.
They didn't want to, and I was like, I told my dad, I said, Dad, we got to move. I can't do this.
Right.
I don't want to be here.
And that was back in the time when you had to be split, right? You couldn't. You had to definitely be in the Anderson or Turpin side,
yes,
right?
Correct. Yeah, it was. Unless you started at that school, you could continue.
Okay.
The thing. So my brother was kind of in that mode. He was already living. We had already started at Anderson and was already through. Okay. I think he was a junior or senior, so he was able to continue from where we were at.
Okay.
So it worked out.
Okay.
But I was ticked off because my brother's going there, and my whole family went to Anderson, and I was not a Turpin guy. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So, but I played it. I learned. From there, and then I had the opportunity to, we ended up making that call, and I got introduced actually to Anderson, luckily through Mr. Wolf. So they found out I was coming to Anderson, and I lived down on Pine Bluff at that time when I moved back, and we were right down the street from Mr. Wolf, and he was like, you should run cross country, and I was like, man, what the heck, I did nothing else going on coming into that new school, not knowing anybody, and I got, cross country was the best. I mean, Mrs. Gross, Mrs. Gross, they are the best people. They're funny, they're hilarious, they do great things. You go on camping trips, you did all this stuff. Right. You get to hear the hitchhiker, which is one of the great stories of all time. And going into that year, I was excited as heck because I got to meet a lot of great friends cross country. We go to the football games and do everything the night before, and then you get up early and you run your meet, and then you're done. Right. And you hang out with all the girls that you run with every week, and it's great.
Right.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's how I got introduced to Anderson.
Okay.
And then, obviously baseball was my number one, and that was the thing. So I get there to sophomore year. Sophomore year was Terry Erdman was the coach, and I came in, and soon after getting there, Erdman told me that I was going to be the number one pitcher. So I was the number one. I had Eric Elsasser, a bunch of other decent pitchers and stuff like that. And we ended up, my sophomore year when we played, we were good. We were really good. Even, we were 17, 18 win team.
Wow.
We were good. We had we had a heck of talent. Jason Druso, Dave Bailey, Kerry Corelli, Mike Goyer was amazing. Just some really good talent. And I loved playing with those guys, and I loved playing with older guys.
Right.
That was fun to me, and just came in there and just kind of took the reins, and then moved on and kept going, and that was Anderson baseball in a nutshell. It's just once you have the formula and you keep going, and then you just keep moving up, and you learn.
So Urban was just your sophomore year,
correct? And then he was sophomore and junior year, I believe. Okay. And then senior year, Jeff Collins and I were captains, and they called us in. They said, "Hey, you guys are going to have to sit in and listen to. We're going to have some people interviewing for the job." So we sat in and we got our little say, and it was interesting.
Do you remember who the other ones were besides Campbell by any chance, or no?
Campbell, Barry Martin, Warden, I believe he was a former player or former coach. I think he's played in the major leagues. There was some big names.
Wow.
But man, that was so long ago.
Yeah.
We finally got down. I'll be honest with you. Playing against Campbell and Glen Estee. at the time, I didn't really care for him.
I agree. Totally agree with you.
If you didn't play against him, you hated him.
Right.
Or you played against him, you hated him.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, that guy was the best thing that ever happened to Anderson. Bringing him in and his staff that he brought in.
Rich Dodson,
Ray Ayers. Ayers won at McNick. I mean, Barry Martin, and they're all qualified coaches. So you never had a lack of talent or whatever you needed. Those guys were there.
Yeah.
And some of them, just funny people. Ray Ayers was great. He was funny. I was a pitcher, so I didn't bat much because, they just, pitchers don't bat. I don't understand that. Minor leagues are the best talent out there. But they kind of just, growing up, I was a hitting machine. That's all I did was hit. But when I got to Anderson, he's like, oh, you're just going to pitch. You'll play the outfield occasionally. And so Ray Ayers loved my hitting. And I remember getting hit by a ball when I was up to bat. And I started running down to first. He goes, "It didn't hit you. Get back." he sold the umpire. I was like, God, this guy. So I was like, I didn't know you could do that. I was like, all right, what the heck?
Yeah, so, Ray Ayers was great. I mean, just if you we've talked about this on previous podcasts. Some of the coaches that we had at Anderson during that time were legendary. I mean, you go from Campbell to Soriano to Wolf to
Wolf and Gross.
I mean, you get all those, and it's just absolutely amazing.
Well, I'll tell you this, and I know you know this, Glenn. We've talked about it, but when Paul Campbell came in, and you're dead on. I mean, if you played against him, you didn't like him, and he had that southern drawl voice and loud and everything like that. But I mean, obviously the guy knows his stuff. He was very successful at Glen Hock, but there was nobody, and this is no surprise to you, Dave. There's nobody that was a bigger cheerleader and a fan of Paul Campbell than my dad.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And Dad, he couldn't wait to get there to watch you guys play. He was a big cheerleader.
Yeah, he was, and I remember Timmy was the same way. I remember Timmy said he couldn't stand Campbell.
Yeah.
But then he loved him. Yeah. So
I'm glad you said that because that was another thing going in there sophomore year and playing, meeting your dad. Your dad was always up in the stands, and oh my gosh, we would just every one of those baseball guys loved your dad, man. He was the
best.
Oh, just so good.
Just loved Anderson.
And we talked about it before. There's a lot of just super fans. He was one, man. Yeah. Bob Andrews. People, man, just staples that come around. They had no tie to the game at that point.
Their kids were gone.
Amazing. Good people, just awesome. But your dad was hilarious.
That's funny. We were talking a little bit about your dad last night before our broadcast, and filling in some of the guys and just telling about how your dad. There was a name that we brought up from the past and saying how your dad and it was a different school and how your dad was still loved, like he said, loved seeing him and talked and just how your it was Matt Brian's kid came up and we were kind of trying to tell him about your dad and how your great grandpa or whatever so it was kind of cool to bring back those memories of your dad. It was pretty awesome. Your dad was he was the man, I tell you. It was awesome to.
Well, he loved Anderson.
Oh yeah,
he loved watching you guys.
Yeah. Oh, he was great. I remember the first day I met him. He started watching and he was just talk to you. And towards the end of the day, he goes, "I'm writing a book. You and Jeff." And he goes, "I'm writing a book because you guys are going to be something someday." And he was that a baby, always that a baby, that a baby. Oh, wow. So let's get into you had I just want a little bit more about baseball. So I know that we were talking before we went on air. You had a run, and I thought you guys did really well. I thought you guys did pretty well in the tournament too, I believe, and that was like the first time in a long time that Anderson had a run in the tournament. Talk a little bit about that. So it was my senior year. We went into the tournament. We played Glen Hock twice, back to back.
Yep, the regular season and then the tournament.
And Tim was pitching, I think the second game or whatever, one of the games.
Was that at Glen Hock?
That was at Midland. That was at Midland.
Yeah.
Okay. And our backs were against the wall.
I remember this.
And he bolted himself. I mean, he just got out of it, and just that strike zone, just watching the game was getting so, and he just put the hammer down and got us through that. And once we got through that, I think we rolled on. We went to LaSalle, played LaSalle, beat LaSalle. And that was a big game. And then we came back and beat Elder 1-0.
Yes.
And then we played St. X, and I started that game, and we put up 5 runs in the first. I mean, we were just cruising. I don't know what the first, but we put up about 5 runs. I went out. I told Campbell, I said, I'm about done. I can't pitch anymore, but I'm going to stay in. Put me in left. And he put me in left, and I said, if you need me, bring me back. I'll shut it down for you. And he brought some younger guys in, and we just couldn't hold the lead, and came back, and I pitched one, and our second baseman just couldn't handle it, and it just rolled through. Yeah, and
it's always a tough way to lose, especially when you're playing those GCL schools.
It was sad.
Cheaters.
Tammy.
Cheaters. That's all I gotta say. So let's get into. Then we got into the track. Let's get into track real quick. You played for obviously a living legend in Andy Wolf. That experience had to be pretty awesome.
That was pretty cool. Senior year, so they have these track meets. They used to. I don't know if they do anymore, but they used to have these track meets, indoor track meets down at UC.
Okay.
In the Armory Fieldhouse. Yeah. And that was cool. That was pretty neat. You get down there and you're running against everybody. So I just kind of did that just to see where I was at and wanted to do that. So I did some sprints, and then I did the long jump. And the first time I jumped, I broke the school record.
Damn.
And Mr. Wolf was there, and he was like, you should come out and do some. You should come out and at least jump and run. And I was like, I'll be honest with you, baseball is going to be my number one. I said, if I have the time, I'll do it. And he goes, I don't know. He goes, well, tell you what, all right, you can do it. All right. And so I told him, I said, hey, if it's conflicting, I'm going to have to go with baseball. If it's not, I'll be there. And it worked out. The next week we went to Indiana, and my next jump, actually going back to my brother had the indoor record, and I beat him at the first time. So I beat him on the first time we jumped. It was 20 feet 10.
Oh my gosh.
And then the second week we go to Indiana, and it was a six-state track meet. They had everybody all over, and it was at Indiana University. Pretty amazing. And you go there, and my first jump, I ended up breaking the record again, so I got 21 2.5. And Jed Davis and Mr. Wolf are watching, and they come up, and he goes, now where are you running? Where are you marking yourself from? And I go, like somewhere in there. And he goes, what? You're not running? You're not like marking yourself or whatever? So like when you do long jump, you start from the board and you run out and you mark your steps. So you're going to meet your I didn't do that. I just ran and jumped. And literally, and that's how I broke the record. And Jed Davis is like, I can fix this, Never did. But really? I just was one of those natural guys. I could run and I could jump, but I just once I started getting that, I just never improved on it.
That's pretty awesome.
But it was pretty neat to break the record and do that stuff for whatever. I don't even know if it still exists. It might. Caprell was really good too. He was
Brian
years later. He broke. He was outside. He was a better jumper outside, but I got him. I think indoors. I got him.
I know they got those records up on the wall. I thought there for a while, didn't they? On the wall outside. By the stadium. Outside stadium.
I don't know if they have the. I don't know if they have the indoor stuff. Yeah, I don't think so. Outdoor now.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's always frustrating. That's the only one of the bad things I say about Anderson. The records. Yeah. To trying to find all those are very hard. I mean, I've been spending so much time on the football side of it, and it's extremely hard to find it. And then I've been working with Timmy to try to get Timmy's baseball stuff, and it's hard.
Well, when you have somebody like Andy, who's a teacher, lived here,
right, and
he's got all that because he was a coach for so long. But some of these other sports, coaches come and go, and they don't keep the stats, or the stats are lost, and it's hard to keep track of some of these, which I wish they had more of, like baseball.
Yeah, right.
He's got you go to Mr. Wolf's house. He's got everything. It's like a vault.
I am sure.
It's amazing. Yeah. He can tell you anything about anything.
Yeah, I'm sure.
What kind of gum somebody chewed? He can tell you. He knows all that stuff.
And I mean, I had him as a teacher, but I didn't run track or cross country. But I mean, for him to be excited because he was always so even keel, and level headed. Yeah. I would like to see how fired up he would get. Yeah. Did he ever get fired up?
Yeah, actually he did. Every once in a while, it'd take him. And if he did, you didn't want to be around him. He could definitely pour it on. I can't recall, but I do remember one time he got mad about something.
Yeah,
and it might have been, it might have been Malone. We were lucky enough to go to Malone College every year for this big cross country, and I did cross country. We went there, and he he wants dedicated runners, okay? And I was playing, at that time for cross country, I was playing baseball in the summer, and he wanted you to put up, I can't remember what the distance was, like 500 miles that you had to put in a certain amount of time. Something like that. And I was playing double headers and baseball every day, and and I told him, I was like, I can't do it. I'm sorry, I'm physically, when you're doing double headers, I don't care if you're in this. It exerts you. It is what it is. But I've never seen it. And now looking back at it, you know what? I was probably a wuss, and I probably could have done it. But whatever.
No, but he's good. That's it's funny, Steve, thinking about that. He obviously saw that you and I could not be runners, or didn't offer to say, hey, why don't you come out for track? We never got that. So
so when he would walk down the hallway, you would like turn and go the other way.
I would, I would, because I did not want to run. I was not a runner.
All right, so let's get after high school here and talk about what path you took in college, and did you play sports and
so after I graduated, we went to, I was debating on playing and going all over, and went to a few different colleges and checked it out. And I decided I was going to stay on at UC. Went to UC, and I walked on. And at that time, UC wasn't very good. And I walked on, and just, I don't know. I ended up going through almost all the thing and didn't make it. I got to like the last day, and I was actually happy.
Really?
They didn't play very well, and it wasn't a good time at that time, and I was like, whatever. So I was lucky enough, I started playing baseball with the Hilltoppers, and the Hilltoppers were amazing. We played all over the country, and then...
what is that, like a semi?
Basically like semi-pro. It was CRC at the time, but it was semi-pro because we went basically all over. And actually in 2001, we were ranked the #1 team in the country.
Oh, wow.
And we had Mark Tranbarger,
I remember Mark Tranbarger.
Tom Hemming. Wow. We had some unbelievable Bill Hemming. We had some guys that could play, and we went to regionals, played Memphis Chick Stadium, Bo Jackson Stadium, Tim McCarver. Went all over, played all these top teams. I mean, I gave up a 540-foot home run to a guy. I don't think it's come down yet.
It's still going.
And I remember my coach, I threw a slider, and I remember my catcher, Kenny Hatfield, he was mouthing the words "great pitch" as it was going out of the park.
Really?
It was a guy named Marty Watson. He played for Evansville.
Wow.
He and his girlfriend decided she wanted him to decide on him or baseball, and he was playing minor league AAA baseball, and he gave it up and went and played with this lower team so he could play less. He had like 45 home runs in like 40 games. And this guy was a monster. 5'7", and just a beast.
Wow, that's crazy.
Wow. That's some of the players we got to play against, and
that would have been fun.
Oh, it was amazing. But we ended up winning that tournament in Memphis, and then we went to the regional or the finals in Louisville, and we were playing teams from all over, and it was fun, man. We had some good times.
How did your expenses get paid? No, was it your own?
That was just us, yeah. As far as that, but we played it all over. But
that's awesome. That sounds like fun.
Then later on, we went with the Cobalts, and the Cobalts was Mark Dietz, Jeff Dietz.
Oh, wow.
A lot of drinkers and a lot of fun in that one.
I'm sure. Jeff Dietz.
We would go down to the pitcher. Oh, he was amazing. Just ask him.
He's so funny.
I love Jeff.
He is
great.
so funny.
Jeff is the best. They're so fun.
That is great.
But we had some great talent in that, and then we go down to Roy Hobbs' tournament.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We'd play at the we'd play at the Red Sox complex. We played at the Minnesota Twins complex in Fort Myers, and we ended up winning that one in 2007.
Nice.
That was awesome.
Damn. Is that like when you do some of those tournaments, like some of them were just wooden bats?
Yeah, this was all wooden bat.
Okay.
This is all wooden bat. We got to play at the old Red Sox complex and I remember Mr. Martin, Barry Martin, walking around, and we're playing there. They had this, it's all like stone wall, 440 to center field, about a 40-foot fence. It's crazy.
Oh, God.
And he walked out there, and he's looking around. He's like, "Can you see the ghosts?" And the way he said it, Ted Williams.
Funny. Yes.
Ted Williams played there by Babe Ruth.
Yes.
In the stands, I guarantee they probably didn't do anything since that time.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was the coolest thing. We're just playing there looking around and it was pretty
awesome.
Incredible. And we played against, a lot of the ex-pros would go down there and play in those tournaments. So we played against like Eddie Milner.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
That was pretty cool. We had, I think one of us picked him off. And that guy was still fast.
Yeah.
Oh, lightning
crazy
fast. Yeah.
Eddie Milner.
So how long did you play?
I played up until I am 48 now, and I played up until I think 36, 37.
Okay.
It was long.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and then I went. They tried to get me to play in that summer league down there on Newtown.
Yeah.
I went down for 1 or 2 games,
Like on Sundays or something like that.
Yeah, and I was just like, it wasn't the same. The guys, and I was like, we had such good teams. I just didn't even want to tarnish it.
Right,
I was like, I'm not doing it, and I had better things to do at the time.
Right.
Yeah. Still fun though.
Oh, it's been great. Yeah. No, there's a lot of good guys that go down there and play, but it just wasn't for me anymore. I ended up playing softball, getting in a softball league with a bunch of great guys. Mike Browning. Good.
Jeez,
guys.
Pete's the Brownings.
That's a guy you need to get on this. He has some stories with him.
I would love to have one.
Yeah.
They always liked me, which I appreciated. I liked them to be on my side.
Yeah, they were
strong dudes.
Oh,
damn good football players.
Yes.
Man, they were tough.
Yeah.
They were tough.
Good guys.
Yeah, we had some good softball players. Johnny Reed.
I don't know Johnny.
Johnny's a little bit older. Andy Camden.
Yeah.
Just some.
I wonder if we would have played against them. Do you remember playing against them? We played softball for freaking years, man. We lived down at the Expressway and River Star and Rumpke, and
I'm sure
we played. Just about. It was all during the week, and we were playing 4 or 5 days a week, and then on the weekends, we were playing all the time.
That was a fun
softball. It's not the same.
It's not the same, but you know what? I was an unorthodox hitter at that time, and I could crush.
Yeah.
And I think half the guys in baseball who hit home runs didn't hit home runs in softball,
right. Yeah.
And it was great because it was like, turning the tides here.
Yeah. Good old days.
Softball was awesome. We loved to play it, but I firmly believe it's why I didn't get married till I was in my 30s.
Totally agree. I told my wife now, Krista, I told her, I said, you would have hated me back in the day. I said, it was so pathetic that when Tyler was little, we were playing softball, and my wife at the time had to work, and I brought Tyler and put it in the dugout, and I go out and pitch, and he cried, run in and put a bottle on his mouth. That's how pathetic I was with softball.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
You were ate up.
I was. So were you.
Yeah,
we both were pretty pathetic.
All right, so let's talk about your family. So you briefly mentioned you're the youngest of how many?
Youngest of 7.
Okay.
Yeah, so two brothers. Warren's the oldest, and then Brian, and then Brian's he was 87, and then there's Christy, Julie, Sherry, and Lori.
Okay.
And they're some of them were athletes, some of them not. But,
okay. Are they all in town still?
Yeah, everybody's in town, which is pretty impressive.
Right,
That's a great family. My older brother Warren moved away for a while to Florida, but he was back. But so
that is crazy.
Yeah, so we got lucky, and that's like I said. I was lucky enough to go through that. So if you were in the Anderson in the '80s, I probably knew you.
That's right. That's what we're understanding here.
Yeah, lead right into what we're getting ready to go now to. Let's get into what you're doing today. And I know I could be right or wrong on this, but I think during the pandemic is when you started doing your trivia from your garage. I think is when, and that's kind of when we got ours started too. Is around the pandemic, just around the same time. Been a huge success, and it's led into your, your Name That Tune, your trivia, all that. So talk about the idea of that, like kind of like us. We were just sitting around.
Started.
We were kind of sitting around bored with, hey, let's do this. I think it'd be a cool idea. Just kind of talk about how yours got started.
Before that all happened, so I kind of did some little DJing here and there with Sammy down at Latitudes.
Okay.
So I would do some Sunday night disco fever, some stuff. And we were just doing some stuff, having a good time, a lot of fun. So I had that background, but I didn't do it as serious at the time. And then I was working for a video production company. I traveled around. I did photography. I did everything, did local TV and stuff like that. And then pandemic hit, and it was just like, the world shut down that day. It was just kind of like, we're going to go a different direction. And I was like, but I was kind of ready at that point, and it was kind of the nudge I needed. And I was like, you know what, whatever. And I'm a very social person. I need to be around people. I need to talk. I need to do things. So I was like, I came up with the idea of doing Live from Glen's Garage, and I started it. And I went around to all the local bars and restaurants that were struggling during the pandemic, and I asked them, I said, hey, tell you what, is there anything you want to donate to the show for a prize? And I'll, plug you all day and do whatever on the show and stuff like that. And they were like, everybody said yes. I mean, it started off with like Donnie Gilman from the Lounge at the time. He was like, here's a bottle of this, here's a bottle of that. And then it just went around. We went to all these different bars and stuff, and they were just giving stuff away. And I would do the Live from Glen's Garage, and basically just started off doing questions and stuff like that. And people started chiming in, just going live.
Where did you get the questions from? I mean,
I looked all over.
I mean, like Google and books and just...
I would do that. I would do Trivial Pursuit. I would do stuff, just at that time. I was looking all over. And, so I would find these questions and whatever. And we had a lot of time to kill, so... my shows lasted like 4 hours. And it wasn't, there was some drinking involved. It was crazy.
I'm sure.
And, everybody kind of enjoyed it. And you would see the people that would chime in and stuff, and I would ask them questions, and they would go in. And at that time, like, Facebook kept like let me go back for a second. So the garage would be open for the most part, and people would see the show going on, and it's pandemic, they were supposed to be staying at home. There would be like 7 cars in front of my house, and people partying and stuff like that. I'm sorry, because people just couldn't stay away.
Right.
Dan Varner was one of them. He would be over there all the time. But it was just funny.
So be it.
And, we all kept their distance, but it was just funny. They would just come in, and people would stay outside and watch and whatever. And
it's hilarious.
Yeah, it was just how it was.
That's cool.
But, so it was like doing a live show with people, and it was great. And it was pretty neat. At that time, like, Facebook would send me specs on like how many people were tuning in and watching, and whether it would be a minute or not. And I think at the highest rating we had 44,000 people.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Because there was nothing going on.
Well, yeah.
That's the thing.
But it doesn't matter.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's still. That's crazy.
I used to get scared opening up my Facebook the next day, because I would get these friend requests from people like in Bangladesh. And it was like, what the heck's going on? And I'm like, how did you? And they would talk to me, and they'd be like, oh, we watched you. We thought you were funny. And I'm like, all right, whatever.
That is awesome.
Well, we had people win from Texas and stuff, and I told them, I'm like, I'm not sending you. So they would be like, I'll give it to this guy and whatever. So we give the prizes to people, and
so
it was funny.
That's all. And then I mean, you're not still doing that thing anymore, but it spurred off Name That Tune and Trivia. How did you transition from doing that to getting involved at the local bars?
So basically, a lot of the people who were watching at the time were like, "This is really funny and really cool. Like, when this breaks, you need to start coming. You need to go come into our bar."
Right.
And at that time, I was kicking it because when they started opening up the restaurants and the bars to let you go, you could only have like a table here and there.
Yeah.
So they couldn't book bands. They couldn't do that, but they could book me. I was a cheaper route for them to go, and they had entertainment. So I was working pretty good back then, because Latitudes booked me quite a bit. Bunch of the other restaurants and stuff like that booked me because they just couldn't afford having bands come in and doing that stuff. So So,
and they weren't allowing bands to do that back then.
No, absolutely. And but I could sit up there on the stage and ask questions and stuff.
And you're still doing it, because
I'm still doing it, yeah.
I know you do Tap House. I know you do the Lounge. You're at the Lounge a lot. Varsity.
I'll be at Mio's on 8 Mile and Clough on Mondays. Tuesday I'm at the Varsity. Wednesday I'm at the Lounge for karaoke. Thursday I'm at the Tap House. Every other Friday I'm at the Lounge, and then Saturdays I keep open for like weddings and other
then
big
Sunday
events.
you do the Bengals thing, right?
Sunday I'm at the Lounge.
So you're nonstop.
You do weddings too?
I do weddings, yeah.
No kidding.
I got one coming up next week, and then I got that big party, some Fairfax thing tonight, some local thing. They're doing like a throwback prom night for everybody in their 30s and 40s. Kind of fun. So
you're basically the word of mouth got around everybody.
That's one thing. I've been lucky.
I mean, it seems like you've been doing a pretty awesome job. But the one that I kind of want to get into, and Steve and I have not attended. And I know we've been invited for several years. And
what's that?
It's the Hock of Ages. And so let's talk about that.
Explain what that is.
We want to start from back in the beginning, and I tell me if I'm right or wrong. Did it start at Stonegate Apartments?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and get it started on that. How it all started?
So we used to go to Dennis Quayle. And Dennis, one of my buddies. We were just sitting around. We used to go up to Varsity a lot, and we were sitting there drinking. We were like, let's go to these concerts. So we used to go to these big hair 80 bands and stuff like that, and back in the day. And Riverbend one year just stunk. They didn't have anything going, and we're like, this stinks. Let's throw our own event. So whatever. So we ended up having a pool party, and actually before that we had a pool party, and then we would go to a concert, and we'd have a bus pick us up and everything. And then one year we did that for like 3 or 4 years, and then one year it just stunk. We couldn't find anything. I was like, let's throw our own. Let's do it. And they're like, yeah, it's a great idea. So we my buddy Todd has his camp down in New Richmond, and we ended up going down there, and we had I was like, let's get 4 or 5 bands, and we'll do it all day. And we started at 12 o'clock, and we'd be done at 4 or 5 in the morning. It was just unbelievable.
Wow.
But how did so when you first did it at Stonegate, did you obviously couldn't do bands there because...
No, that was great. When we did it at Stonegate, we would just have a pool party.
And just play music or something?
So if it was, like, let's say Def Leppard was playing at Riverbend on a Tuesday, we would throw a party all day Tuesday, and then we would have a bus pick us up 7 o'clock and take us down to the concert, and then we would come back. And, it was an all day. You had to be experienced.
Wow. That's crazy.
It was great. I went around, since it was tied to Stonegate, we would go around to all the restaurants in the area and say, we got a party at Stonegate, and they were delivering pizzas, they were delivering subs, they were delivering every 7 minutes. It seemed like somebody was coming in, dropping off something. Everyone's like, this is the greatest party ever.
What was the first year? Do you remember?
Gosh, this year was our 12th. This year would have been our 12th.
Wow.
So going back 12. So
that's crazy, man. That all
what a great event.
Yeah, and then the band. Like, so how did you get the fund? Because I'm sure it's a pretty penny. I'm sure. How did you get all that? Eventually, when you got bigger, did you have sponsorships? Did you what did you do?
Yeah. I'm lucky enough. We got great friends and people that like sponsored, so we get them to sponsor the bands and stuff like that, and come out, and then.
So basically, that sponsorship would pay for the band or whatever.
We have food, and at one time it was a little crazy because we had food and beer and everything. It was looking back, I'm like, oh man, I was crazy. What the heck was I doing? But it was all set. So it was a great party. So now we moved down to the American Legion down there on 744 on Wilmer, and it's been great, man. It's such
What time does that end usually?
We try that one. Because of the ordinance, we shut that down at 11 for the outside for the outside band, and then we go inside, and we had another band play. So we had like 6 bands this year, and it was awesome.
I know one guy that I absolutely, besides Dan Varner, obviously, but Scotty Ryan. Love me some Scotty Ryan.
Scotty Ryan.
Huh?
He did your wedding.
Listen, this is to see how Scotty is. So my wedding, we got married at the Inn at Aninata, which is down in Kentucky, and it's you have a house for the people in the party to stay in, and then you've got a groom's house and all this stuff. So it was an all day, and it was during college football. Obviously, I scheduled it when UC wasn't playing, and we were tailgating basically out there, and it was an all day thing. And I said, hey, Scotty, I need you to be a DJ, but I also need you to play some, do all this stuff. and it was all day. And he was there from what time, Steve? He was there, and I want to say 3:30, maybe earlier, and he stayed till 2:00 in the morning, whatever time it was, and we stayed there. Everybody stayed there. But that was what Scotty Ryan did for us.
Oh, he's the best.
He was just freaking amazing, and everybody loved him. He was
one of the greatest receptions.
Yeah,
ever.
it was an incredible.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
And one of the funny things about Scotty, so Scotty's a staple of Hock of Ages. You ever come to Hock of Ages?
Yeah.
Scotty's the staple. And I always tell him, so Scotty still to this day thinks the headliner is the first band that plays.
So he plays
I've
first.
sold him on that.
That's funny.
No, he loves it. He's like, I'm in the headliner, right? And I'm like, absolutely.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, you got some good bands there. I mean, Dan Varner and Scotty Ryan and some of these guys that you get, they're incredible.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we've got over the years, man. We've had some national people that come down from Nashville. George Shingleton, look him up. He's really good. But just when you get these contracts from these guys, I'm signing my life away. I'm looking at it going, I don't know.
Yeah.
My buddy's like, just do it. I'm like, all right.
That's
that's crazy.
It's great. Yeah.
So, speaking of Dan Varner, what is your connection to Dan Varner as far as what you're doing with him now?
We just became friends. Going back so long, I couldn't even answer
Great
that.
guy.
Yeah, we've known each other for quite a while, and we started piggybacking off. He has events going on with what he does, and then he books me for stuff, and which is awesome.
Yeah.
I keep him in mind, and that's really going back to he started, and he's another staple. I mean, when we did the Hock of Ages, Dan's always involved in it some way. He's playing or doing something.
Yeah.
So that's how we kind of all became friends. But basically just going and seeing him play.
Yeah,
we were down
Dan would
there.
do anything for you.
Yeah, we all became friends through that. And I'd say we're going back probably 9-10 years. I mean, just really being good friends. So I don't know.
Dan's another one of those great guys. And then you also had guys that we followed too. Is Dan Carroll and those guys were on for One More and I'm Out of Here. They started it off. They do a really good job too. It's awesome to see those guys doing very well.
Yeah, that was fun. That was an interesting thing. I was like, bring them down. Let's do it. So maybe get you guys to come down. That'd be fun.
Do a combined force. Yeah, do combined forces maybe one time. We'll just kind of shoot the shit. It'd be kind of nice. But so we always try to end this with some of your memories. So like your favorite memories. So give me your favorite memory from high school, and then if you had one in college, and if not,
I was thinking.
Yeah. So give me your favorite high school memory. You got one in high school?
I was thinking about that. So baseball, but I would say probably my biggest memory, and it was probably the Anderson Invitational, and we were running. We were in the 4x1, which we went to regionals. We had a great team. Adam Zabo, Greg Curval, and then Jake Andriadis and me. And we were up there as far as we were in the records for a while there, but those come and go. Right. But probably the Anderson Invitational. We were doing the 4x1, and you come around and you're getting there, and you look into the crowd, and it's electric on a Friday night. Yeah. And you're coming around there, and I was the third handoff, and I get that handoff from Zabo, and I'm coming around, and you're just running, and you just feel your muscles and everything in your body because you're trying your darndest to get it, and you hand it off to Jake, and your job's done, and you're just watching it, and you just see that, and then you're claps, and you just look over at the crowd, and it's just electric, and everybody's screaming, and that's pretty cool. If you ever see a track meet, go and watch the sprints.
I've been. I mean, the Invitational, that's a huge one. I mean, I don't know compared to other schools, and obviously with Andy's involvement, that has to be one of the bigger track events.
It's interesting. It's definitely
that's cool. That's a cool moment.
I mean, even going back to that, even like speaking on my dad, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up my dad. My dad was he helped Andy and all those guys raise money for that track. When they were doing that, and and there was a whole slew of people that did that, but that was the best track in all of Ohio. Yeah, I mean, they wanted to be the best, and they got it. And
no more of that cinder track. Yeah, that old cinder track.
That was awful.
I remember running on that. I know, long spikes, and then we would run. It would be like smoke coming up.
Yeah, it was bad, and then especially if you fell on it.
That was awful.
Which I did often.
Okay.
My sister Julie still has cinders in her. She did the hurdles.
It's permanently,
You can still see them. It's crazy.
What about a favorite teacher?
Favorite teacher? I mean, there's so many. There's so many that are just classic. I mean, Mr. Wolf, Mrs. Gross are great.
Yep.
And one that was funny that I'm probably going to be the only one to say it. Mr. Victor.
Terry Victor.
Yeah.
Terry Victor. He was probably one of the funniest guys I've ever. Everybody when I came over from Turpin to Anderson, I was given my schedule to some of the girls that were running, and they're like, "Oh, you got Mr. Victor. Oh God."
Yeah. He came in after us.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think he was in Vietnam.
He was in Vietnam, and he was the funniest. He was just hardcore.
Yeah.
He was hilarious. Yeah. One of my favorite stories that he did is he was just a funny guy. So they would do where the principals would come around and monitor the teachers.
Yeah.
So he's coming on his last week of this going on, and he goes, "Hey, they're going to be monitoring this week, so we need to work up a little scheme here." So he goes, "They really look for class participation." So he goes,
awesome.
I'm going to ask a question.
And here's the answer.
He goes, "I'm going to ask a question. If you know the answer, raise your left hand. If you don't know the answer, raise your right hand." And that way he can call on the people.
That's good.
And we were just laughing. I mean, he was a funny guy. I mean, I threw a no-hitter in baseball, and I was in the bathroom, and he comes into the bathroom, and he goes, "Oh, you think you're all tough?" And
big old bad.
Oh man, I couldn't even go into it on this, but he was just a funny guy.
That's a good
awesome.
pick, though.
It was weird.
Yeah, so that's one of the ones we haven't had. Everybody does a typical Coleman, Sinkovich.
I guarantee you, I'm probably the only one that said that.
You are.
Good, but I remember me and Justin Coletta went and gave him chocolate. They were working in the
foods class.
Yeah, something like that. We had some chocolate that was left over. We went down, we knocked on his door in class, and we go, "Mr. Victor, here, we brought you some chocolate." And he pulls it out, and he hands one to me, hands one to him, and he hands one to you. He goes, "That way, if you poisoned it, you're going down with me." He was always looking out for something.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But again, so everybody knows you're like, you just gave out your schedule, so you could probably see you anywhere at the bars here. The Varsity Tap House, the Lounge, Mio's. Yep. You're all over the place, and I know that we've run into a couple of these places, especially at the Lounge when we've had the Anderson with Frank Brandy this year. We were there, but it's always fun when you're doing those things. It's very entertaining. If you haven't been out there, you need to go see Glenn. He does a great job, and I'm glad we finally got you on, man. It's been way too long to try to get you on, but and I promise, one year we'll make Hock of Ages. 1 year we'll make Hock of Ages.
That would be sweet.
Yeah,
I'd appreciate it.
We got to do that. So
can I say one thing too? I appreciate you guys doing this. I mean, I think this is really cool, and seeing you guys out and talking to you about it. I mean, I think this is really neat that you bring back all the Anderson.
I appreciate that, man.
And give a chance for people to talk and tell stories, because it's awesome just hearing the stories of stuff.
It really is. Yeah.
Some people can't relate because they didn't have great high school experiences.
Right.
But you know what? I don't know how you couldn't.
I agree. School. I totally agree. That's why we kind of did this, and it's kind of cool for us to hear some of the guys that we had back in the day that we watched and we idolized, and get to talk to them, and then we're in awe when we're talking to them, like, oh my gosh, we're talking to so it's cool. We appreciate you saying that, though, man. That's awesome. So you need to go out and support Glenn whenever he's out there, and let us know, and maybe we'll make an event out of it one time, and maybe we could just sit there and just do a podcast on Glenn, in action or something.
That's right.
And feel free. Anybody that's out there, if you want to come to Hock of Ages, seriously, friend me on Facebook, whatever. We'll get you out there. Seriously.
And I gotta say, he's also a singer too.
He's a damn good singer too.
Yeah. Well, I got this witness it firsthand last week at the Tap House, and he's out walking the parking lot singing and with Varner.
Yeah. Oh, I can't even imagine those two. I can't even imagine that. So, yeah. Well, I think my only time that I sing is when it's very, very late night and a lot of adult beverages are in me. That's the only time I can sing it.
I've heard it before.
Yeah.
He's got chills. They're multiplying.
Yes. Gotta love it.
Oh my God.
Little Grease, baby.
Did you pay him?
Oh, no.
It's true.
I love Grease.
That's funny.
I used to do the late night at varsity, and oh my gosh,
That's so funny.
the whole crew would come up there, and there was always something going on.
That is hilarious.
That is awesome. Grease is the word, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Tonight we bowl.
All right, Glenn, we really appreciate you joining us, man. It's been awesome. And Steve, again,
yes,
another great guest, as we always have.
Another great one, yes.
Yep. So we got to love it. So again, we got to thank our podcast sponsored by Jim Surger and his book 9/11: A Time to Remember. Jim Surger's 6th book is now out in paperback form. Steve and I, as well as 90 other folks from coast to coast, share their story of that tragic 9/11 day. Books are available anywhere books are sold or jimsurger.com. And you can also follow us on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube, and also on This Week in Anderson, Dingo to Coach, and now our new one that we got, Positive Energy Podcast, which I love, and a lot of people are loving that. So catch us on there. So again, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. So for Dan Albers, Steve Ellis, and Glen Hock, you've been listening in This Week in Anderson. Have a great night.